Welcome, guys. This is Ritwik Ahlawat. I'm the host of the Out of Office podcast, and it is powered by Syncupp. Today, I have with me Faisal. He is the co-founder of Brandslane, one of the top D2C agencies out there, and he's also the founder of Agency Scaling Systems, which has helped a lot of agencies and freelancers scale in India. So, Faisal, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ritwik. It's a pleasure to be here, buddy.
Awesome. So, for those who have just joined in, right? I think a fun fact which everybody should know about you is that you're an army kid, much like me. So, we share that bond. And apart from that, you also found your wife through LinkedIn, right? Which is for everybody
Yes,
listening
yes,
out
yes.
there, I think it's a very good way, very good segue to get started creating content on LinkedIn, correct? So, so
Yes,
good to
yes. I
have you,
did it
Faisal.
to get clients. Yeah, I did it to get clients, but it ended up attracting more attention than it deserved. But yeah,
Perfect. I think that'd be a good motivator for anybody to, get started on LinkedIn, right? So,
fair enough.
Faisal, it's great to have you here. For those who don't know, right, Brandslane is currently one of the top D2C agencies, marketing agencies out there. You have worked with a lot of great clients. People really look up to you into this space. So, I'm sure, a lot of people would be curious of how you got started into this whole space. Was it somebody or someone or your circumstances that pushed you into starting this? So if you can talk a little bit about that.
Right. There was no circumstance. Circumstance, though, is always there for people who are wanting to start up with entrepreneurship. I did my MBA, did nothing. I did not know anything about entrepreneurship, and when after 7 months of doing that, I could not see myself doing that for another minute. I was like, yeah, I would rather take bullet in my chest rather than doing it for another second. I left my job in 2018, November 2nd. Still remember the date. After a good decent brawl with my boss at that time, and then I just took off for Delhi, and ever since then I have been in Delhi NCR itself, and started off with freelancing. In about 8 to 9 months, I was able to make back the money I was taking there as a salary, and ever since then, much more for me as well as my clients, I would say. So yeah, that was more or less what led to it. It was just deep dissatisfaction with the state where I was in, and a lack of control that I had over my own life. I was like, okay, screw this. I would rather do stuff on my own. I think I can do it better.
Like one question which always it's not even a question, right? It's just an observation. I think a lot of people who get started, especially with entrepreneurship or something, which is not uh, the normal thing which people do, right? Like getting a job or something like that. And we come from a service background as well, right? Where entrepreneurship, I think, was on nobody's mind. So, do you think that putting yourself into circumstances, or rather, even being, uh, you know, uh, not being able to stand the circumstances you're in, right? How important do you think that is to push you into the right direction? Because people typically take it as a negative event in their life. कि नहीं यार मेरे साथ ये हो रहा है वो हो रहा है and what will I do rather than that you focus your energies onto building something for yourself because there's always two ways to go about it.
Right. So it's either you keep blaming the circumstances and do nothing about it, and let your like external factors control where you go in life. Like, as an example, I used to before this, when I was doing my job, I used to work with the Aquaguard, the water purifier company, and I just asked myself the question that after selling this, what else will I be legible to sell? I will never be get into any like decent enough product. I'll be selling washing machines. I'll be selling, grinders and stuff like that. And even if I want to be in a job, this is the last thing that I want to sell, right? I'm just in here for the experience, but it's not the kind of experience that will get me anywhere. And that is the case with a lot of people. I I was like, right now, even I have zero experience. If I leave today, I have zero experience. I can start from scratch, but maybe 5 years down the line, I would look back and say, okay, I should have, because back then I had zero experience. But for whatever reason, I did not. That was my future self thinking about me right now. So I was like, no, I don't want that kind of a problem to happen in the future. So I would rather leave the job right now and take off. And my parents were deeply disheartened at that time, but I assured them that give me a couple of years and I'll make it up. And I think in the next 1 year I did.
Yeah, yeah. So like once you left this job, right, and you had done this MBA, so was it because of seeing somebody on LinkedIn, or was it because of your MBA that you felt that okay, let me get into this whole agency space, or did you start out as a freelancer? So what was the process of starting a D2C agency?
I right. So that happened by step by chance. I saw an ad of Facebook ads, so I just because I was deeply interested in advertising and marketing. That was
Yeah,
my major also in my MBA. That was a natural proclamation that I was like, okay, and that digital marketing was at that time something which was still growing in
yeah,
2018. I was like, okay, let me learn this. Let me see what it is. When I learned Facebook ads, that's the basics of it. I was deeply interested in the possibilities that opened up, and you know around that time I tested out with my own budget on a couple of things, selling my own stuff, made my own videos and stuff, and I saw that there was a positive traction coming in from that direction. Like, okay, if I do this full time, if I freelance, even if I'm able to make 15,000 rupees a month, I'll be able to at least make myself survive. So that was how it all actually started, was just through one course which I did not even complete fully, but it gave me the jump start that I needed.
yeah, yeah. True. So so now that you're attracted to this space, now you want to get into it. You have started freelancing. You're running your ads. One very unique thing about your agency is that typically most agencies and most people out there, they're running their agencies solo. You have a very good co-founder, right? You have a great bond with the co-founder. So when did you meet him, and what was the process like? How did you convince him to start an agency together, or did he convince you?
Right. Yeah, nobody convinced anyone. We met on a Facebook group. He was
Okay.
putting out something about chatbots, and I was putting out something about Facebook ad and sales and all. It was just a natural conversation which happened with us in the DMs. Came, and I'm in Noida, I'm in Delhi. I was like, okay, let's meet up. And after a couple of conversations, we met up, and we saw that there is a direction, and it made sense that okay, both of us are doing the same things in the same direction but separately. Let's just try what if we do it together. At that time Nick was also starting off his own agency freelance journey. I was also doing the same. Like, okay, let's hustle together. Whatever money we get, let's pool it in. Let's see if it works out for like 3-4 projects. If it does, good enough. Up till I think till entirety of 2019, more than half of it we were just working on clients together. Like some of the clients of that I was working on, he helped with, and vice versa. And slowly and gradually, slowly and gradually, we were like, okay, I trust this guy. Let's start something together only.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a very natural growth process rather than jumping head straight into it. We just started off at a decent pace. Okay, let's see working together what it's like.
Yeah, yeah. And would you say, like, because a lot of people, me, including me, right? We typically are finding, looking out for people to collaborate with, especially at a same pace, at a same level, right? And often you're not able to find somebody like that who matches your interest, or I don't know what is the right mix. So, what would you say has made this, collaboration last for so many years? What would you say somebody should look for in a co-founder?
Right. Right. I would say somebody for look for is complementary skills. Two skills which are lacking in both of them. Or you are better at one thing, the other should be better at the other thing. Right. One should be a front end person, one should be a back end person. Right. Even though now both I and my co-founder Anindya, we are well aligned in all directions of our business. When we started off, I knew jack shit about Facebook ads, how to do the technicalities, how to get a pixel up and everything. Right. But what I knew was I knew how to talk, and I knew how to do a little bit of sales because I came from a sales background. The entire year I was selling water purifiers, for God's sake,
Yeah.
right? And on the vice versa, Nick had his own e-commerce experience over the last 1 year before me, and so he knew the nitty gritties and technicalities of it. He had results. He had a couple of few case studies. But on the sales side, though he was doing fairly well with it himself as well, he was like, okay, this is something this guy can look at, while I can look at the back end stuff, and I abhor the back end stuff, still do, right? And that was the mix that we said, okay, do this front end thing, I'll do the content, I'll do whatever you want. You work on the back end, solidify the structure at the internal things of the company, and that has more or less evolved gradually only. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is how we, even without even speaking, we divide our responsibilities. Like, okay, this is something which I know that I'll be able to do better. Even right now, I was like, okay, I'll do it. Okay,
Yeah.
and we are saying that okay, this is something which is financial or something with technicalities, including the GST and something. He himself picks it up. I'll do this because it's
Yeah.
a natural agreement between us without even speaking that who we know who is better at what, right?
Yeah.
So that is how it goes. What people screw it at is like they go to their friends, they go to people who they like working with, right? Nick, my co-founder Nick and I, we call him Nick.
Yeah.
Name is Anindya, but we call him Nick. So yeah. He and I became friends later. I think we became business peeps first. We became business collaborators first, and slowly and gradually developed into a very strong, good friendship. He's one of my closest, bestest friends now. But when we started off, we did not. I did not go for my natural, friends or the natural collaborators. I went with someone who knew more about this thing than I did, and I knew some parts of it more than what he did. So that is where people, suck at is that can't find collaborators, and it's comfortable working with a friend or colleague or someone you have known for a long time rather than someone who you are going with it for the skills.
Yeah. I think it's so important to be conscious of what you bring to the table and
Yes.
what you don't bring to the table before actually going out and collaborating with somebody. I think many people are not even self-aware that okay, this is something they're passionate about what they do, but that level of self-awareness is not there. And I think
Right.
that is what is so important in making a collaboration work, right?
Absolutely.
And it's great. It's
Absolutely.
great. So yeah. And now that you both started collaborating, what was your process of acquiring clients then, and how has it evolved, to now in 2024?
Right. Client acquisition is more or less always going to be the same for any company. Especially at the agency level. We started off with majorly LinkedIn, WhatsApp groups, anybody who needed help, Facebook groups, stuff like that. And that was me doing the front man's job, getting more people into the funnel, getting them to trust us, case studies, yada yada yada, all that stuff. So that was that then. But yeah, we did not have a lot of stuff going on, so obviously the traction was comparatively lesser. Right now, we get most of our clients through our ads that we are running for acquisition and the inbound systems that we have set up for getting people into the funnel and outbound systems, right? Which is DMs, emails. So it is all going full frontal, and yeah, that is more or less. It's always going to remain the same. It's just the scale and the response to it because with time things improve and optimize. So yeah, that is more
Yeah.
or less it.
So, like for somebody who's just starting out, right? Would you still recommend them going to Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, or what would you say this has evolved into? Now 2024, because there's a major shift also, right? There's so many new brands coming up every single day at a much higher pace than in 2018. So, what would you say are some good ways for people to acquire clients today, more relevant and better ways to do prospecting?
Right. Though we discussed this in detail in our program as well.
Yeah.
Again, it is always going to be the same. What people don't, or I would say suck at, is that they just take any advice at face value. Okay, this has been said, so I do exactly this. You have to understand framework. The reason I go for LinkedIn is because LinkedIn is where the CEOs and B2B generation, B2B decision makers are. Right. Had they been on some other platform, I would have gone there. Right.
Yeah.
Facebook groups and the groups is where any niche related specific thing is discussed, and it is still discussed. Right. It is still discussed about funnel hacking. They have groups for funnel hackers. Ecom, there is a group for Facebook ads. Right. So you just have to understand where a group of people is and how I can attract their attention. Right. What should I do or bring to the table that is going to grab their attention? Right. That is how you
Yeah.
have to start, and you have to understand your level as well. If you are not someone who is talking, like if you are in a group where $1 million are being discussed in revenue and spends, and you have just maybe $15,000 of case studies, don't go
Yeah.
there. Do not advertise, or advertise before a bunch of people who are more likely to react to you. Right? You have to
Yeah.
understand these things rather than having lofty expectations on that front. So yeah, it is always going to be the same, whatever channels you go
Yeah.
for. So I would even recommend right now Twitter, which is now X. LinkedIn is still very, very strong. Facebook
Yeah.
groups has lost a little bit of sheen, but yeah, good enough to start off. These
Yeah.
are channels which have low input, high return kind of a ratio as compared to, let's say, Instagram, which has like a very high, strong input required, video editing, good clicks, everything. It takes a lot of time to get that internal. So I still do. I'm not actively a lead generator on Instagram, even though I get a lot of my clientele from Instagram, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Start
Yeah.
with one. I would go for LinkedIn any day. Like that has been the best decision I took in my entire life. That rather than doing what other people were doing, I understood that this is what I attune to better. This is what I produce content on better. I went for LinkedIn. It's easy. It's just text. You just have to present a good solid case study, even right now, or just produce content which other people are finding interesting, and you are going to get traction one day or another.
Yeah. So, like one thing which a lot of people have a question about is that there are so many freelancers, so many agency owners on say LinkedIn or Twitter or even Facebook groups, right? How do I stand out? Like, so you can probably the way to answer this question would be that you tell something, what you guys did early on and you still do to sort of stand out from the crowd. And what are some ways that people who are just starting out can stand out because they might probably not have case studies, right? But they still want to attract customers. So what would you say are some ways to stand out from the crowd?
Uh, right, right. So it's always good to have case studies. So if they don't have case studies, figure out a way to get it. Right. How I got it personally, uh, I worked in two agencies back to back for like peanuts, I would say, just for the objective of getting on ground experience, which I can advertise, right?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
you get, or you work with a couple of collaborators, or you work with, let's say, a co-founder who has case studies, right?
Hmm.
My co-founder did. I also worked in the field, in a sense, I worked with a couple of agencies to get that experience. So he had, like, let's say, my co-founder got 4 case studies, I got 3, we collectively got 7. Right, so you have to be very imaginative thinking in that sense. You have to
Yeah.
understand how customers base their decisions right now in 2024. Right. Second is understanding what your competitors are doing. Like this was the first thing, getting that kind of a case study and all of those things, or just those kind of results up your place. Second is understanding what your competitors are doing. Right. Look
Hmm.
at the work they are doing. Look at the kind of copy they are putting out. Look at the kind of engagement they are generating, and not the competitor. I won't say competitors is like
Hmm.
let's say Elon Musk is not your competitor. Don't look at what Elon Musk is doing. Look at your closest, maybe 2 step ahead of you, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't go for the audience that the higher and bigger people are going for, but you can go for the audience, or you can go for the leads that the people who are 2 steps ahead of you are generating. Just,
Yeah.
I would say, replicate, but take inspiration from those ideas and create something of your own, right?
Hmm.
In the end, there is only limited number of positionings you can do, but you can do it before different people, right? You can be one thing to another and another thing to another. Like as an example, we are ace marketeers for lead generation specialists, I would say, for agency owners for our program, but we are e-com people for the e-commerce audience, right? So
Hmm.
you have to niche down your own positioning and then just create content which is just showing your supremacy in terms of knowledge and in terms of result delivery in that specific niche of your choice, right?
Yeah.
So if you are into,
Yeah.
let's say you are into advertising for SaaS businesses. Just keep
Yeah.
creating content around SaaS, around how SaaS is evolving, around how that kind of content will get the right people into the funnel, about
Yeah.
how SaaS is, what kind of result you are delivering for your SaaS clients. That is going to
Hmm.
get them to act or maybe have a FOMO, and slowly and gradually you are going to get those clients, right? So it's just about understanding human psychology of your customer and creating more frequently, which is going to affect the way that they think about you and perceive you, rather than just looking at you as a person or a freelancer. They're going to look
Hmm.
at you as a person who delivers result. That is the end
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, I think just to summarize, I think for people like I've been having this conversation with a lot of people, right? Like, don't undermine the importance of working somewhere. I think a lot of people do that. They just want to get started in entrepreneurship without having any experience. Do internships, take up jobs, be it for at least a year, right? Even if it is for a year, do
Yes.
that, right? Get experience, hands-on experience. That is number one. Number two is obviously try to drill down into your offer because there might be a lot of freelancers out there, but there might not be a freelancer for real estate clients doing 1 to 10 crores per year in terms of sales, right? So niching down on your offer is also super crucial to get started with so that you
Absolutely.
attract that kind of
Absolutely.
people. And third is obviously creating content to provide maximum value for that particular niche and that particular offer, right? That offer segment. So I think that's going to be crucial for people who are getting started now, right? Apart from that, one thing which I've definitely noticed, and anybody who knows you or anybody who follows you on LinkedIn will know that once you acquire a client, they love, they love the whole agency, they love brands lane. So what do you do on a day-to-day basis or over a long-term basis to make your clients fall in love with you and your team? That's something super important.
Understood. Uh, so it's all about, I would say, ease of customers or clientele achieving things, right? If they are able to, let's say they put a question, right?
Hmm.
Okay, okay, what is my ROAS in the last 7 days, guys? You should already have systems and people, more or less, who have that answer. And I'm not saying that you sit down and calculate it there. It should be a system which is already getting those calculations done in place, right?
Yeah.
Suppose they're asking for a quick reporting. You should have those formats and templates that are already going to like proven tested things. Okay, this is what works for all of our clients. This is the knowledge, this is the understanding of the last 7 days or 3 days that they require. Copy paste,
Hmm.
and then just doing it at scale. I think that ease and space is what our clients most appreciate on certain things. That we have a system for onboarding. It's very easy. You just have to send them a link. They just click on it. All the systems are there. All the requirements, everything is there. They just know it's intuitive. They get into the thing. As soon as they start off, there is a templatized message which goes to them, so they understand. Okay, this is what my deliverables are. As soon as I am into their agency Slack, right? So
Yeah.
rather than the only thing which makes a difference in the end, it's a service. Anybody can do it, but the experience of customers is what makes them trust you more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That I can go entirely into specifics because there are certain differentiating factors in the end of the day for every client, how you deal with them and all. But
Hmm.
that is in the end of the day, speed of delivery and the entire experience that they should
Yeah.
trust you. They are trusting you with your money. They are trusting you with your time, right?
Yeah.
They should trust you that yeah, this person knows what they are doing, and
Hmm.
they have a system for it, and it's a system they have tested out on X amount of clients before as well. So if work for them, it might work for me as well.
Yeah. I think one more thing that you guys do very nicely, this is just my observation, is that you're very, very good at communicating with clients, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Be it wins, be it, some minor losses, everything is being communicated. And why is that important? At least from what I have seen, I've learned a lot from you guys and obviously agency scaling system, is that once you start communicating with clients, right? It will obviously make them trust you more, and
Yeah.
you're also forming a very strong bond, right? They
Yes,
don't see you as a marketing outsourced marketing agency. They see you as part of your own team, which is so
absolutely.
crucial for them to trust you. They will also give you referrals. Then it's just such a
Yep.
important thing, right? So do you want to say something on
Abs-
communication? What should people do?
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing in communication which I would like, apart from everything else, the one thing which I think we do well,
Hmm.
apart from the usual communication stuff, is looking into the future.
Hmm.
Because let's say you go to a doctor, if they just tell you what you are having, then it's fine. It's a diagnosis. Anyone can do that. But if they can't see into the future, it won't be a very joyful conversation.
Hmm.
That okay, I have this disease, now what? I don't know. Let's wait and watch, right? That might not be why you go to a doctor for, right? So
Hmm.
it is our responsibility as marketers are in the end of the day, business doctors in a sense as well. We look at top of the funnel. To because we know seasonality, we know what happens during what month. So it is good from a demand generation perspective as an agency to always have those communications. Okay, December is going well, guys, but the next 2 months the forecast is less. In our experience, apparel doesn't do well. This apparel doesn't do well in January and February. So either let's have an offer for, let's say, Valentine's, or let's just make sure that our supplies chain and everything is sorted and it's not overproducing and stuff, so that there's no problem, right? Now this communication will not come from someone who has no experience. So what this does,
Yeah.
it helps the clients, it makes them trust more, and it shows their experience in that specific niche, right?
Hmm.
Because you have seen the thing again and again, and it's just you seeing into the future. Okay, this campaign was a success, but I have 1.5 months ahead, right?
Hmm.
I never worry for the month, even for our clients, even for Bradsley in terms of the sales cycles that we have for ourselves. I'm always prepping myself for the next 1 to 2 months. I am not working for January anymore. It's anyhow 21st, right? All I could do for January has been done, right?
Hmm.
Maybe some projects or anything comes up in the end of the day, but yeah, what my efforts are aligned towards are February and March now.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, perfect. So, let's get into, your business now. As you mentioned that,
Sure.
you and Nick, you have a very great dynamic and you take care of the front end, or you can say the sales and negotiation and that front end communication, right? So what would, like, after your
Yes.
lead is being generated through your ads or through the various methods that you also teach in agency scaling systems, once that lead is generated, now what is your sales process like, right? What is pre-sales? What is happening on the sales call? What is your post sales ritual, for people to understand this better. Yeah.
Right. So, sale the initial call which happens when you are introducing, it's usually half an hour to 1 hour long call. If it is a good fit, if you based on the form filled and everything and the brand and their business and all, I like what they're going for. We just have a usual conversation. I show them the results we have got, and I establish the authority. That's the intent of the call, to establish absolute authority on the client, right? On that call, be it through our results, be it through the clientele that we work with, on anything, right? जो भी on the call we see that this is a better direction to take this conversation toward, just establish an authority so that the person by the end of the week thinks about you. So that's the first thing. The second is introducing them to the systems that you have for different parts of their own business. Let's say creating content, copywriting, creative research. Like, we have a system for everything, right? We have those documentations up. So just giving them a glimpse of it, simple as that, right? So that's the initial intent of the first conversation, to set you apart from the number of people that they are probably talking to. Because if a person is coming to you from an ad, it's more likely that they have gone to other people as well. So the only thing that you can, the two major things you can do is set up show your systems, and, because that differentiates you, and show your results because that differentiates you, right? And lastly, bond with the person on a personal level, in a sense which no other person can do. You just understand their problem, be a good friend on the call, consult them, take the conversation outside the Zoom call as well. I at times connect with them on WhatsApp. I say, okay, take your time, take your decision, take 1 month. It's not a problem. If you have anything, let me know. But take a decision, either a yes or a no. I'm going to hound you to death if you, until and unless you don't say a yes or a no. So the decision has to be taken. It has to be taken in due time, right? So I tend to get them out of the sales call as well. A lot of people don't do is that outside they just lose touch. I tend to maintain touch, not just like, yeah, I'm sending them Diwali messages and stuff. I get them into the funnel. Let's say a WhatsApp funnel and a LinkedIn funnel. Let's say these are the two things. On WhatsApp, I keep on putting WhatsApp stories of the client numbers that we are doing, and on LinkedIn they keep on seeing, or at times Instagram, depending on the nature of the person. If it's an old person, I don't go there. But yeah, if it's like a younger dude, let's say for the agency scaling system, and they're like, okay, on Instagram, batao, I'll just follow you up, or I'll just check you out. I like a couple of their photos because the authority is built. They follow me up, and then they just remain in the funnel. So later down the line, maybe 3 months, 4 months, based on the number of touch points I'm doing, they end up converting. And that is the sales cycle that you have to look at. It's not like it's just a 30-minute window,
Yeah.
right? You have to understand that you are doing something outside the channel as well. And that is why building up organic is so important, because once that person is outside the channel of acquisition, that conversation has to keep on going. It's one way or another. Right? A lot of people have worked with us after like three years of the first touch point as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's how, because they remained in touch with our results.
True, true. I think one major complaint, and I'm sure we have this question cropping up a lot of times in agency scaling systems also, and over LinkedIn also, everywhere I see, right? People are always like, my sales call went very well. I sent across a proposal, but now I'm being ghosted by the client, right? So I think it's so important to follow up effectively. So just to touch upon that a little bit, a lot of people, they want a specific timeline, that okay, should I do it after 7 days, 1 month, 27 hours? How should I go about that? So what would you
48
say
hours.
is the way of
48 hours. Max,
okay.
max. 48 hours max. And the question should not always be, hey man, are we working together? It should simply be, have you taken a decision? And what is the decision? Rather than sounding desperate, you have to come off as a business owner who is not having a lot of time, right? Who has his own sales priorities and sales commitments as well. See, okay, have you taken a decision? Okay, if not, what is the estimated time? And we have this conversation on the sales call itself. Okay, by the time it ends, okay, before it ends, what is the time that you will take to make this decision? Okay, you will be back by 22nd December. Just fair enough. Okay, I'll talk to you then, maybe on a Zoom call, a quick phone call. If you're okay with that, I'll just drop your WhatsApp. They were like, yeah, sure. That's the opt-in. So when there's an opt-in, just try to get more and more yeses and opt-ins from them, right? Okay, can I just send you a request on LinkedIn, right? Whenever at times I'm just showing off my case studies on the sales call itself, I go to their LinkedIn and like, okay, I'll just drop you a message, drop you a connection on LinkedIn itself, and I do it on screen share at times, right?
Yeah.
So the person can just not say no,
Yeah.
right? So it becomes very friendly from that conversational term, I would say, and slowly and gradually, if the things to go, they say yes. But once you get them opt-in, that's what is required. Rather than following up with them on email and all, get them out of there. Get on channels which are more quicker, accessible, WhatsApp call, phone call, wherever it is possible, rather than
Yeah.
just keeping it on email, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think
and even
one
if it
big
doesn't
look.
go, even if there is not a no yes, right, like if there's no upfront yes, okay, okay, we are working together, even if they are ghosting you and stuff, it's fine, it's okay.
Yeah.
Us as customers do the same at times. तीन जगह पे देख लिया, एक पे जाके खरीद लिया, is that not ghosting, right? It's a part of business. You can't be miffed about it and ruin
Yeah.
3 to 4 days. It's a part of business being ghosted. You're like, okay, he ghosted me. I'll keep the dude in the funnel. Next time he
Yeah.
comes, I'll make myself better. That should be the
Yes.
strategy you should go with.
Yeah, I think a big mistake, like from what I can, pick up from what you're trying to say, I think a lot of people make this huge mistake of trying to come off as too professional and you trying to be too business-like, and they forget that end of the day you're interacting with humans, right?
Right.
And you need to have that human touch, be like a friend, right? Obviously not a very, very like, bum chum kind of a friend, but yes, you have to be a friend. You need to be friendly that, hey, how are things going on? Okay, when can I follow up with you? Taking the permission, right? As you mentioned,
Right.
opt-in, that's the right word for it. Opting them in for, the right kind of things like, okay, hey, can I send you a case study? Or, hey, can I follow up with you on this proposal by Saturday 10 a.m.? Right? So just trying to be a little bit subliminal also in terms of what you're requesting off of them. And that typically, converts much better as well, right? So that's
Yes.
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And any resource for the people. Obviously, agency scaling system is the best resource. But any other like book you would recommend or any other resource you would recommend for people to learn more about sales?
I learned a lot about sales from a book named The Ultimate Sales Machine. I
Okay.
loved it. But honestly, sales is something which you only get either through observation, which is looking at other sales calls, successful ones,
Yeah.
and comparing them to yours, or
Yeah.
by doing it yourself. Sales is not something which you can get better with by studying about it, right? So get in a coaching program, or just talk to people like us who have been on sales call and understand their processes and stuff,
Mm.
because it's different for everyone. There is no one solid way of going about sales. uh,
Mm.
so the more you do it, the better you become,
Yeah.
and do it in a structured format. We tend to have a very strong structure, right?
Mm.
Which is, I would say, malleable enough that it is easy to follow and easy to adapt to, but also in a very structured format that I know, okay, what exactly is going to happen next, right?
Mm. Mm.
So have a structured sales call process. That's simple as that.
Yeah. Perfect, perfect. And like I want to also touch upon, anybody who knows you and the people who will obviously come to know you now. And once they start following you on LinkedIn, Instagram, all these places, one thing which again stands out with Brands Lane and agency scaling systems is that um, the clients love the kind of client delivery you give them, and even your teammates, right? And random people, even on LinkedIn, Instagram, they're always very, they love the way you operate the whole thing. They love the culture that you have set up. So would you say like
Right.
all of these things, right? All of these ways of clients appreciating you, teammates appreciating what you guys do. Do you think it's the result of building a good culture, a good company culture? And for anybody who
Yes,
wants to
absolutely.
build an amazing team culture or company culture, how can they do that?
Uh, Absolutely. Happy people give happy results. That is something that I have realized over the course of my career.
Mm.
In the current market that we are working in, honestly, especially in the agency space, it's very fickle. Talent is expensive, and the distractions are too many, right? So you have to keep your team happy, aligned, and well in the right direction, while giving them freedom to do, other things, while giving them freedom to live their life, be at their own terms, but obviously never at the result of loss of client numbers, right?
Yeah,
So that is the only thing I have, which we
yeah,
set as a boundary, that client should always be satisfied. If that is being compromised, then we need to have a chat. But apart
yeah.
from that, we are an output, a based company ourselves. So obviously, we should never have our own employees to a different standard. It's never going to be, your work is never going to be judged on the basis of the input. Okay, this guy just works 1 hour a day. It's going to be judged on the output. This guy does X amount of work, even in 1 hour a day. That's good, right? All I care about is our clients having a good time and having good results and being communicated with at the earliest and with the apt time. So that is the culture that we have always gone with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is
So
what
how
I would
do
say
but how do
to
you
at least start
communicate
off.
that?
That
How
would
do
be
you
the yeah. Please.
Yeah. Like the question is like, how do you communicate that, right? Because a
Hmm.
lot of people, like when they're hiring or when they're getting a client onboarded, they're never okay. The technical thing is there, right? Like so many people, they have very good technical expertise, right? But they never seem to be. They probably might not be a good fit from a company, culture standpoint. So how do you make sure that that culture stands out and that culture is one of the core tenets also of before they get started with you?
Right, right. I understood. We seldom talk about the tech talk on our hiring call. At least not in the first one. Second one, pe even right, a little bit maybe how you did it, or how you got these numbers or whatever. The first thing we look at is the culture fit. If the person would be someone that my rest of the team is going to enjoy working with, and we have screwed up at some times as well. Kabhi kabar it seems something else, sometimes it turns out something else, right? But usually you have to ask. More soft skills based questions rather than just technical questions कि, okay ये कैसे किया ये कैसे किया ये कैसे किया. It has to be more aligned to the kind of person they are. Okay, what kind of books do you read?
Okay.
Right. Now, if the person reads books and they're able to name some good ones, okay, this is a thoughtful person, right?
Yes.
And this is the other question I ask is, okay, this is let's say specifically by field, which is media buying. This is an ever evolving field. What all brands do you follow? So if they name some very, boring old brands, okay, I have always loved what BMW is doing. You know that they are not into e-com, or they didn't get the question, right?
Mm. Yeah.
I usually ask, where do you hang out the most to learn about e-com, right?
Mm.
Which will give me an idea if they are a Reddit person or a LinkedIn person or a Facebook group person, or are they just no person at all, right? Or what kind of blogs do you follow, right?
Yeah.
To be on top of the game that you are at. So these questions, as you can see, these are not technical questions. I'm just understanding the person. Ki, okay, ये बैठ के करता क्या है? What does the person do in his free time to stay on top of the industry that they are in? And this itself, the answers to these questions will give you a very idea. Ki, okay, if this person is genuine enough, or is this person just because you can't fake that, right?
Yes.
Even I don't hang out on Twitter that much. I don't hang out on LinkedIn. I learn a lot of stuff from LinkedIn and my employees. I talk to them. I talk to my employees and say, कि, okay, आजकल क्या क्या चल रहा है? जरा बताओ मेरे को. Rather than reading about a blog. And that is again a good answer. कि okay, I am in a lot of groups. I chat with a lot of people, collaborate on a lot of products, and that's how I keep on learning. That's also a good answer, right? But you have to gauge the person on the basis of the answer, right? And
Mm.
on the basis of that, is this a collaborative person or this is a solo person? Okay, even if it's solo person, fair enough. But
Mm.
are they on top of the industry game or not? If not, then it's not a good fit in the end of the day. That itself will give you the answer.
Yeah, true. I think, and just to expand on that, I think one more reason why Brandslane is what Brandslane is, or agent scaling is what it is right today. It is because of you guys. Obviously, everybody makes mistakes, right? But even hiring the right kind of people will plummet you and be a major value addition, a major a lever in terms of boosting success. So I think people should really whenever they are going ahead trying to find a co-founder, or is it finding a media buyer, or if it is finding a creative strategist, understanding that what who they are as a person is so important, even more than the real technical skills. Probably they're not the best Canva designer, but if they know that okay, this is the brand thinking out of the box, this is the industry trend, then rest of the things can be figured out, they can be found out, right? So
Absolutely.
that's extremely important. And finally, Faisal, you found your wife through LinkedIn, right? And
Yes.
it is primarily via content creation. So, what would you say? How important is content creation in 2024, and how can people go about that effectively today?
Right, right, right. Allah blessed me with a very nice wife, and the first
Yeah,
touch point was LinkedIn itself. And it was because my profile stood out in a sense from other people doing the same stuff. I looked interesting enough, I guess. But yeah,
yeah,
kudos on that. The content, creating content is absolutely essential because it is an advertising tool in the end of the day. You get people into the funnel. That is it. The content's goal has to be to get people into the funnel. Right
Mhm.
now, a lot of people when they start off with the wrong channels. I have seen, which take a lot of effort. You have to make efforts on the basis of their output driven results as well, right? The reason I started with LinkedIn was, again, as I mentioned, it is low effort. It does not take me a lot of time to write a good LinkedIn post, right, and get results out of that. If it was Instagram, I would have to be very wary of the editing. I have to be very consistent every single day. On LinkedIn, I hardly post maybe 3 times a day now. Sorry,
Yeah.
3 times a week now, right?
Yeah.
And when required, I post even more. But yeah, it was a low input, high output kind of a situation, and still is, because the people on LinkedIn are very well prospected. Now, if we
Mhm.
compare it to any other channel, the chances are less. On Instagram, most of the people are younger, so
Mhm.
everybody who gets into your funnel is also not the right people. That is why a lot of courses get sold on Instagram, because people,
Yeah.
less nurtured people, get into the funnel, right? You have
Yeah.
to, so you have to ensure that what you are projecting outwards is what is getting people to get into the funnel. Those are the kind of people that it is going to get into the funnel, right?
Yeah.
So if your goal is to get famous, Instagram is the way to go along with LinkedIn. But if your goal is to build a business, I would recommend using LinkedIn at first. And once you get a stable, okay, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, जो भी है, LinkedIn से consistently आ रहा है, good enough, I'm having a stable team, now proliferate on other channels. So it is absolutely necessary for getting people for free without putting in a lot of efforts and money.
Yeah. So one thing, which I personally leveraged are the different content buckets and the different types of creating content within agency scaling systems. So can you elaborate on, how you guys are segmented, and you can elaborate on probably one or two of those, and rest obviously I'll be putting in the details. Yeah.
Right, right. So what would be, let's say, understanding again what your customer likes
Hmm.
to read. So one thing I usually put out is the personal story angle, right?
Hmm.
Show them where you came from and your story, and they are more likely to get into the funnel, right?
Hmm.
Show your struggle and how it relates to where you are now, and that growth is possible, right?
Hmm.
It gets that kind of people into the funnel, and it gets a good social engagement and validation as well, right?
Hmm.
It's a celebration of entrepreneurship in a sense, that kind of a post, right?
Hmm.
So that is just one way of getting attention and reintroducing yourself to the new followers that might have gotten into the funnel. So that
Yeah.
usually works well. The
Yeah.
goal there is not sales, but just to get a different perspective in front of people, a more human perspective. People love working with humans, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and second is just, I would say, let's say, telling more industry specific stories. I'll give an example. A client of ours, after 2 years of working with us, they left in
Hmm.
January. They
Yes.
started with us in 2022 January, and they left us in like December 2023. So like 2 years of solid work. So rather than being sad about it and moping around about it, I just made a post out of it that we made these guys 12 crores after spending 2 crores in the last 2 years, and they are now grown enough to take the advertising in house, which is fabulous. I'm happy
Hmm.
for them. Right, I'm
Yeah.
not sad and miffed about it. Ki chala gaya client. No, and that itself got a good kind of attention. As a matter of fact, one Forbes 30 under 30 actually reached out to me and said, "This is the kind of people I want to connect with, who understand the game, who bring those kind of results, and I'm mature about it." Now, that's a
Yeah.
profession. That's a story which I told of the client's growth, but in a very professional sense that it got attention. Right,
Yeah.
good enough for me. So
Yeah.
these are just certain examples, but you have to understand what humans don't just look at numbers; they look at stories and just create craft good stories that people would want to read.
Yeah, I think it's much like, how we talked about hiring, how you, while hiring, you talk to people about reading books and this and that. That's the same way you're doing it, but at a mass level, right? Now, so if you're
Yes,
connected to the right kind of people, all of these founders now have an insight towards your life, towards your personality, towards brand's lane and what you guys stand
yes,
for.
yes,
And
yes,
they will
yes.
automatically gravitate towards you because they know that, okay, if this guy, he appreciates his clients so much, I would love to work with him. He's not like, okay, I'll only give me my retainer and only then I'll work with you, right? You guys are genuinely helping them plunge into another orbit, right? And that is what people want. That is what people want. So that
Absolutely.
is extremely important. Yes, true.
So
So yeah, I mean, I think we have covered most of the technical stuff and the agency related stuff. I want to ask you, it's been, I think, 6 to 7 years of being an entrepreneur now. So how would you say that you have changed over the years, before you started the agency and now that you've started the agency, now you're even married, right? So what has transitioned from when you were an entrepreneur to now you have been an entrepreneur for some time and you're doing very, very well. You're an inspiration for many. So yeah, what are the changes you have seen in
right,
yourself?
right, appreciate it. So yeah, firstly, there's been, this is going to be my fifth year. So 6 7 साल नहीं हुए. I started off
Okay, that's
like
very good.
properly we started in 2019 itself. So
Got it.
this is year number 5, I would say.
Hmm.
But yeah, the change has been being a more output, uh, you know, specific person now. When you are an employee, I'll just take an example. When you are an employee, the most of the time, when even I was, and a lot of people I connect with and communicate with as well, ki, I do this, I do this, I do this, right? While the conversation should be, I achieved this out of putting this, right? And I think in big companies, obviously, that is not always the case. So easy to figure out, okay, what your achievement truly means to the company. In my case, it's not so. So I'm more output derived person, or an output specific person. Okay, it's not about how many sales calls I took, but how many did I convert, right?
Yeah.
Because who am I lying to? Who am I justifying it for? Right? There's only justification to me and my co-founder and the business. It's very transparent. But the month has not gone in, even if the input has been good, the output has not been good, and it's fine. It's not a bad thing, right? Just have to be worked upon and understood. So that is, I would say, the biggest change. That when I started off, it was like what all I am doing, while now it is what all I need to achieve. I think that is a strong thing that is there.
Yeah.
Rest, so it's more or less the same.
Yeah. And like, you come from this typical, service background from a government job, right? So what
Yes, yes.
was your reaction of your parents, back then when you had started, and now that you have, sort of put your name here into this whole space. So what has the reaction of your friends been, your parents been, your siblings been to this?
Right. There was never like initially there was a lot of disheartenments. It was, I wouldn't choose the word highly supportive, but they were never against the fact. Okay, okay, do what you want to do. It's your life, but be ready for the challenges it comes with. Right.
Yeah.
In a service job, there are a lot of security. There's a lot of challenges as well, which is there, but there is security of job. Yeah, money is going to keep on coming. Right. My father was very strict, was like very, very straightforward about it. Be ready for the challenges this is going to come with. We do not have a service back, like we do not have a business background, even like characteristically, we do not have it in our blood. We are all my cousins, all my relatives in my father's side. No, nobody is in business, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have that in our blood as well, neither back end. So be ready for the things that are going to come your way.
Yeah.
Because we are safe people from that perspective. I was like, fair enough. I'll try to figure out. Right? It was the same three idiot speech की जब तुम्हारे दोस्तों की गाड़ी होगी तब तुम हंसेंगे तुम पे. I was like, ठीक है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Still don't have a car. I'm fine with it. I'm doing well. I'm married. I have no problem, right? But I think this is something that a lot of people, irrespective of background, say. If you want to make your parents agree with your direction of life, just achieve something which is going to make them realize कि okay कर लेगा. So all I did was I got on sales call, converted, closed a couple of clients, got to the kind of uh,
Yeah.
you can say revenue that I was at personally or finances wise. And my father at that time had access to my bank account, so he always kept on just seeing, okay, इस महीने इतना आया, fine, ठीक है. And he itself started justifying कि now 5 years later my mom says कि अच्छा है छोड़ दी, right?
Yes.
क्योंकि it would never have worked out. Quite honestly, the reason I am able to get married as well is because I am a businessman. I took off my days at my own. Like I traveled, I met my wife whenever I wanted to. She was at a job, so it was easier for me to travel at times, right? Whenever I wanted to. So those things come easy to me because I was running my own
Yeah.
business. I can run it from anywhere. And those things might not have been the case had I not been running my own business, had I been in a job, saal ki ek do chutti and all of that, could not have managed, quite honestly. Right. So that is something which job has allowed me to do, which now my parents see. And it always makes sense looking at it backwards, but it's about having faith. So initially there was a lack of it. Now there's absolute. Even when I am a little bit morbid कि okay यार अब नहीं हो पाएगा. Mom है बोला अरे अरे हो जाएगा कोई दिक्कत नहीं. इतना कर लिए और हो जाएगा कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Now they are more confident on me than I am at myself, which is a very good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, true, true, true. That's so true, man. I mean, I would say, at least from a direct family perspective, we come from the same background, and there was
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
confusion, right? Because this space is like very, very different from even like
Yeah,
businesses changed over time, right? Like what business was 10 years back, even like in 2012, 2013, that has also changed from I would say after 2018, 2019, right? And it was an
absolutely.
extremely confusing time for people, especially our parents and people older to us, even my sibling, right? Like although we are all on the internet, you never know that okay, you just send out a message on LinkedIn. There's a platform on LinkedIn. You send out a message, you can call, you can convert people. You can make people trust you with 30, 40,000 rupees, right? So that's something which has definitely changed. And but over time now, that once they see that okay, you have done it, you are doing it every single day, every single month. Now there's that level of trust that keep at it, keep at it. You're doing so well, you're working so hard, and there's nothing going to stop you, right? So I think that's something for people who come from who is watching, and they think that it's a time where people are resisting, their parents, siblings, friends are resisting it. They should just keep at it, right? Have self faith and go ahead. Right?
It's
I
inertia.
think
It's like the first law of motion. Things at rest tend to be at rest until and unless acted upon by an external force, right? So you have to
yes.
be that external force in the end of the day. Else, things are going to people are more comfortable being where they are, being in
Mhm.
familiar conditions.
True, true. And before we get into the rapid fire, Faisal, I think one thing which I want to ask you is like, what is the one, final piece of advice you would like to give to, freelancers, agency owners, or anybody who wants to start a business online today? So, what is your, final piece of advice for them?
Yeah, I would say what Nike says, like just do it, figure it out on the way around. Just be very
Mhm.
adaptive and be very rapid. That would be my
Yeah,
only direction.
perfect. So, I think that that's a great way to, close the conversation. We have a rapid fire round. So, I hope
Sure.
you're ready for it. I can shoot.
I suck at it, but fair enough. Let's see how I fare around.
Yes. So, what is your favorite book, and what is one book you would recommend everybody read?
Book. I have it right in front of me. This is my favorite book. Ogilvy on advertising, because this is on audio.
Okay.
But yeah, Ogilvy on advertising is my favorite book. And
Okay.
not just like I don't read a lot of fiction anymore, but even if I were, this would still be my favorite book because it introduced me to advertising through and through from the words of David Ogilvy himself, number one
Yeah.
advertiser in the world.
Perfect. What is your favorite movie? And again, what would you recommend people watch?
The Dark Knight.
The Dark
Any
Knight.
day. That
Dark Knight.
that movie changed me. I would say. I've
Hmm.
always been. I was not that interested in filmmaking as a kid, but since
Yeah.
2008, I always have been. I look at movies how they are made and the specific psychology behind a specific scene just because I understood what the Dark Knight was going for. And I'm a comic book nut, and not just because of the recent MCU and stuff. I've been reading comic books since 1996 when they were not even
Hmm.
available in India, right?
Yeah.
So I come from that perspective when they were not cool. So Dark Knight changed the entire movie
Yeah.
scape for me mentally as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I think these superhero movies. One thing which I would say, like I always feels right. I discuss this with my brother. I tell him that there are so many superhero movies out there. Like The Dark Knight is there. There are movies like James Bond. There's so many movies like that out there. And one thing which is so important for people to understand, right? Once they go to these cinemas, they need to be conscious of what this movie is actually trying to portray. It's not just a superhero movie, right? There's a very strong background story. There's a very strong purpose. There's a very strong intent behind it if you can actually try and grasp it, right? So I would say, like, yeah, so like watching these superhero movies, if you're a Marvel fan, DC fan, I'll not get into that debate right now. But there's a lot to learn from these movies if you're truly conscious about it, right? And
Absolutely.
on that note, if you had one superpower, what would that be?
If I had superpowers, what would that
If
be?
you had any one superpower, what would that superpower be? Any kind of superpower.
Spider Man's through and
Okay.
through. All his powers I need. I
Great,
used to
great.
pray to God that I wish I would grow up to be Spider Man. That was
Yeah.
my at times that was the prayer that I slept with. I want
Yeah.
to be Spider Man.
So many times it has happened. Like, I was in one house, and I'm sure you would have also had that experience. You were looking for a spider to bite you, right? If you want to become a Spider
Oh
Man,
yes, yes. I got a spider to okay, bite me. Damn it!
bite you.
I was like 6 or 7. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, bite me anywhere.
Yeah.
It
Anyway.
happened. I'm glad that. But yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say? So for example, if you were deserted on an island, or you're stranded on an island, right?
Mhm.
What is one item you would bring with you and why?
One item I would bring with me would be just an endless supply of food, I would say. I'm a foodie, I like food. So, yeah, that
Okay.
would, I prefer being secluded at times.
Mhm.
Like my weekends, I do not go out to party. I like, even yesterday, I was just in my room. I was just chilling out with my wife. I was just watching
Yeah.
movies and stuff. That's just one window of downtime that I take. So, I think a secluded island would more or less be a downtime. If I have food, I'll be very happy there.
Yes.
Cut off from the external world, good enough. I'll be there.
So what's your favorite cuisine or favorite food to have?
Through and through, I would say biryani is my favorite
Biryani.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, coming from coming from Muslim household, that is something I cherish. And
Yeah.
when it comes to major cuisine, I would say Chinese is something which I enjoy. Like Chinese, Asian food, I enjoy very, very much.
Perfect. And for the people who are watching this, who want to be motivated and get into the agency space, what would you say is the biggest client retainer you have ever closed, or the biggest brand you have ever closed?
Biggest client retainer would be $5,000 per month for our Facebook ad services that we did in 2022. I think that was the client that we worked with. This was
Crazy.
specifically e-commerce. The
Great.
biggest brands, now some I cannot name publicly because
Okay.
they are acquired by Tata now, right?
Oh,
So that yeah. But if I were to take the most popular ones, I would take some names, which would be Bombay Sweet Shop. They are a humongous brand now based out of Mumbai. It's into the
yeah.
food and beverage F&B space, mithai
Hmm.
brand. And when they started off with us, they were doing fine, but they took a very good PR direction. They are now working with
Yes.
Coffee with Karan. They have
Yes.
associations with Archie's, Netflix, all of those
Hmm.
things. They did major D2C darling. They have become. The second would be Bummer Undies from Shark Tank season one, and we worked
Yeah.
with them during and before Shark Tank and after as well. So it was the
Okay.
entire growth journey from for a brand which was doing like 10, 20,000 rupees a day of revenue to take them to see the crore numbers and actually doing it and looking at it on the back end as well. These two I would put in my personal top two from a brand perspective in terms of size that we have worked with.
Perfect. Perfect. And finally, the last question is, what is the best life piece of life advice or best quote, you have read somewhere or somebody has told you, in general, or any movie you would have watched?
Mm, Nothing specific comes to mind, but if I were to just come up with the one at hand right now,
Hmm.
uh, it might be from Batman Begins.
Okay.
Again, I'm a superhero nut, so it usually motivates me a lot as well.
Yeah.
But it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. So, being an output related person, as I mentioned, it's
Absolutely.
not what you do, but what you achieve that in the end of the day defines you. So, don't focus on the input, just focus on what you are achieving with the said input and just focus on that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Faisal. I think people who are watching this, they would have had the most amazing time, listening to this. We delved into a lot of things, a lot of different topics, personal and business. So thank you so much for joining in, and I hope to speak to you soon.